What's up, DWA fam? I'm sure you've heard that merch is back. We are so excited to get this merch in y'all's hands. So go ahead and go to donewithadulting.com/merch to get yours today before they sell out. We're back.
Back.
There is just so much going on.
There's a lot going on.
We are back for another week. This is Done with Adulting Podcast, obviously.
Happy March.
Happy March. Well,
Women's Month.
pretty much almost over.
Yeah, it's almost out of here.
I haven't seen you in it literally took us an hour to start recording because we had 60 minutes of non-recording catching up to do. Because I literally haven't seen you.
When was the last time I saw you?
Well, no, we were. It was like a week and a half ago.
That felt longer than a week and a half.
I know. Time is crazy.
I feel like time's flying, but
It
for
is.
me saying that, it's not.
No, it is. It is. It's basically the month is basically over.
Yeah.
Bro.
Actually, yeah, because we did the taxes episode.
I know.
And speaking of that, they did push the tax date back, so it's not April 15th anymore.
It's May 15th. You were right about that.
They had to do that.
Yeah, they had to. And then the other thing I was going to say was, and you mentioned it is Women's History Month, which we haven't talked about that much. Shame on us. But I think we're going to release something next week in relation to that. But today, there's just a lot of personal things I need to catch you up on. In addition to that,
a lot of things happening in this crazy world of ours.
That we can't not talk about. We have to talk about it. I don't even know where to start. Let me see. Well, actually, literally the whole idea of today's episode was we were planning to talk about just like microaggressions and gaslighting and those types of things.
Do the people know what that is?
I hope so, but we can definitely explain it. And it just happens that there's so much of this going on in the media right now.
Yeah, we have the perfect topics that touch on this.
So it aligns
everyday life
perfectly. So if you want to educate them for a second, go ahead.
So microaggressions, they're subtle or unintentional discrimination towards a marginalized group. Gaslighting, manipulating someone by psychological means.
Which basically is like...
We're going to go through examples. Trust me. We got a lot of them.
We do have examples, but like specifically for gaslighting, I feel like that definition is like vague, but like I feel like the most simplest way to talk about it is like you're trying to tell me that something I'm experiencing either doesn't exist or doesn't exist. You're just trying to make me feel crazy when I'm not crazy. That's how I describe it.
Like,
and that can come up in a lot of ways.
You could be right or wrong, but they try to make you seem like you're like totally out there and you're wrong for having the feelings that you have. And
you're usually right.
Yeah. And you have those reasons. You have those feelings for a reason, but they're trying to make it seem like you should not have those reasons.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a lot in like relationships, toxic relationships.
Yeah. Yes, it does. It doesn't, obviously neither of these things are, they both happen as like in within racism and it can be related to race, but you can be gaslit on just about anything. Just about anything too.
Yeah.
Which the first thing I want to talk about is Meghan and Harry because it's about to be old news. So I just want to touch on it.
Yeah, how long ago was that? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, we're like, it's about to be old news. It was literally 2 weeks ago.
Maybe a week.
But I did a poll on my Instagram story about if we should talk about this, and most people said yes. So, first and foremost, did you watch the entire interview?
So, I think, wasn't there a basketball on or like, there was some, oh yeah, it was the All-Star game. It was the All-Star game. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm like, okay, let me watch some All-Star basketball. And then Emily pops up like, oh, Oprah's doing an interview with Meghan Markle. We should put that on.
It.
So I'm like, okay, we'll put that on for like 10 minutes. What, an hour and a half, 2 hours later, still watching it.
You didn't go back to basketball?
No. But I was just on the couch. I wasn't really, I was paying attention, but I wasn't really paying attention.
I
But,
didn't even watch it live. I watched it the next day on demand.
I mean, it was a lot. A lot came from it.
It was kind of crazy. Do you watch The Crown on Netflix?
No, Emily does. She's been doing it. She's been watching it recently, so I've been keeping on the back.
A new season is out, but we just started it. Like
it
we're
gives you
only
like the
on season
history
2.
of everything too, right?
Yeah. We're only on season 2, and that was part of the reason I wanted to listen to the interview, because sometimes I'm watching The Crown and I'm like, is this shit real? Like, is this really how they operate? So I wanted to like see if it's real. Like if she was gonna say anything that validated what's happening in The Crown, which is crazy. I didn't expect her. I mean, I expected her to reveal that some race shit went on. I just feel like that was the obvious, but from the media to whatever, like,
I mean, for us, that's common sense.
it was obvious. But I wasn't expecting her to like. I feel like she shared a lot that she didn't have to share.
Yeah, like I didn't know that she was suicidal at one point.
Bruh.
To me, that was like, I was like, okay, obviously they were racist over there. Obviously, all the tabloids were doing this because of who she is and the color of her skin. But I didn't know it was to the point of her actually having mental health issues.
Yeah, and you know what I also didn't think about was like, I feel like one of their biggest like complaints obviously was that she was getting all this bad press and bad media, and like they weren't doing anything about it, which in my head, I guess I had thought like, or I never thought about it from that perspective. Like I kind of thought like, what would they do about it? They would like, don't they just like let it rock and not bring it up? But like, no, they obviously put out like for other people and other news articles, they either kill the article or they'll like put out something like saying it's not true or whatever. So when she was saying like those are the things that weren't happening, like these articles were coming out and they were like
letting it ride,
so racist and terrible and lies. That's what she was saying. She was like, it was honestly just the lies. Like they were, instead of just coming out and saying the truth, they were like protecting the lies as opposed to like protecting her as like a family member.
Yeah, gaslighting, making it seem like she's wrong.
Yes. So
like that whole empire or that whole country just gaslit her. And to me, it was just crazy to see like how he treated the other wife. I don't even know their names really because I had to say right. Yeah, like how he treated her. Totally different than how Meghan Markle was treated. And I feel like there's people out there who even after hearing her story still don't believe her or still don't care, which is fine. But to me, that's just kind of wild.
I just am like, why would she say all that? Like, obviously it's not.
Like, why would she bring that to her? Like, bring all this on herself?
Yes. Why would she say all that if she wasn't trying to like?
I'm pretty sure her idea was to get married to him and just live their life like everybody else was living under. I don't want to say under the radar, but like kind of low key under the radar.
Well, no, she kind of said. Oh, you mean when they left?
No, I'm talking about like
when she joined the family.
Yeah,
well, she kind of said that. She said that when she first joined the family, like she intended to be a part of the royal family. Like she was like studying and doing all her shit. To try to impress them. And she was like, and it really, I guess the fact that it got like worse when they got pregnant and all that stuff, like he wasn't getting a title, he wasn't getting security. And I guess what really threw me,
kind of crazy to
that's
me.
Crazy. And I guess what like that shit, that makes, there's not a thing you can say to justify that. Because they had already made that decision that they weren't going to give that boy a title before
the baby even popped out.
Before the baby popped out. Before they said anything about thinking about leaving. Like, so that's crazy to me. But what I was going to say was when Harry said that they took away his security too, like, and he was like, I mean, I knew that. He's like, I kind of knew they were going to take away theirs, like my wife and kids, which he's like, I didn't agree with it, but he's like, I just never really thought that they would.
I mean, if
exile me as the prince.
Yeah, like if he still has his security, I mean, they still would be somewhat protected. But taking away even his security, like,
bruh, he's like, I'm a
that shows you how deep down the hatred is.
Like, and
off
not
a
only
baby
that,
who not even going to look black, that baby white as F. Yo, when they were talking like, oh, they're concerned about what color the baby's going to be.
Who do you think said that? I think it was the king. I mean, he's not the. They don't call him the king.
The dude who looks like he's about to die.
Yeah,
like he looks like he's already dead.
I think he said it.
They just prop his dead body up and like a car for photo ops?
I think he
that
said
man
it.
looks going already.
Because the whole time they didn't say anything about him. They were just saying like they were giving all the accolades to the queen. Like she's lovely. She's always welcomed us.
Oh, that's what they were saying on the interview?
Yeah, like they didn't say one thing bad about the queen. Like Meghan basically described her as like she literally is like a grandma. Like she's so sweet. Like she's always been welcoming to me. We call her all the time. Like they speak to her, and she videos the boy, the baby, but they never mentioned a word. And they touched on Harry's dad. They touched on his brother William, but they never talked about that dude. And when Oprah asked Harry, who said what color is the baby going to be, he wouldn't reveal it. And I feel like if it was a distant member, he would have been like a distant member.
Oh yeah, it was somebody.
So I think it was the near death dude, Duke,
that
the
man
Duke
is
of
dead
Edinburgh.
already, bro.
And also you wouldn't know this because you don't watch The Crown, but that guy, he was like raised by his sister who was like supporting the Nazis and stuff.
Oh yeah, so he's probably the worst of the worst.
Well, so yeah, like in the show, it's like a concern when when him and the queen are about to get married when they're younger because they know that history and they didn't want that to be like a bad look.
I mean, from what I know about that family, they're terrible people.
Yes.
Regardless, you know what I mean? So
I mean, the racism is just.
So after seeing this, how do you feel about Princess Diana's death? Here we go into the conspiracies.
I mean, Harry said, like, he believes that two things are basically almost the same situation, minus the race thing.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, like, what did she do so bad? She was just trying to be more progressive.
I mean, yeah, it's honestly crazy. It's crazy. It just, the amount of power that
they have.
That
what do
they have
now?
as
What do they
the
do now,
crown, that they have as the crown, but just also just like white people in general. Like the power is crazy to their head. It's like that interview literally blew my mind. Like I was shook from beginning to end. I thought it was a phenomenal job by Oprah, but I mean,
she was
and people are still gaslighting her. Like, oh, they're just old school. The crown's just old school. They're just royalists. They're just this. Like, they're not racist. They're just this. Like,
how can you say they're not racist? Like, maybe not like the younger folks in the family, but the family as a whole. I mean, look at their history. How are they not racist?
No, it's true. So, anyways,
people just don't like the truth. They don't like to see the truth.
I mean, hey, they look very happy now. They look blissful.
It's funny though, because I mean, they escaped there to come to America to try to escape racism.
Not escape racism. I mean, yeah, but there they can't do shit. Like they can't even speak. Like she said, she didn't leave the castle for like 5 months. They were just like, I mean, you're in the media, just don't leave. But I also learned, I don't know if you heard this part of the interview, this was another part that surprised me, was that they lived in Tyler Perry's house. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I was like, wow, Tyler Perry's a G, yo.
Was it in Cali, they said?
He's a good dude. Yeah, because at the time...
They were in Toronto and then they were in Canada, then they came down.
Well, the reason they had to leave so urgently was because his family took away the security literally at the same exact time that their location was released publicly. Mm-hmm. So the public had their address and the crown just took security away. And he was like, we're literally just sitting ducks.
Sitting ducks, yeah.
So he was like, we had to do something, but they also cut him off financially. He said if he didn't have the money his mother left him, they wouldn't have been able to do any of this, but they couldn't buy a house and they had to stay in Tyler Perry's house for 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really going to sympathize with them on the money aspect.
I don't sympathize with them. I'm like, wow, I didn't even know y'all knew Tyler like that.
Yeah,
Tyler's
I'm surprised by that too. Like,
yeah,
I mean, Meghan Markle, she was an actress before. Maybe, I mean, her and Tyler Perry ran into each other or something, but
I was surprised.
I definitely didn't expect to hear Tyler Perry's name in that interview.
I was like, okay, he's everywhere.
I was mad random, but no, shout out to Tyler Perry.
Yeah. So
man was homeless at one point.
Yeah.
And now he owns basically half of Atlanta.
Yeah, basically half of Atlanta.
Half of Georgia.
So anyways, it was a good interview. Those are my thoughts on it. I mean, it's sad that people believe that she's making this up or that she's the whole reason they left. Like, I think they were pretty vulnerable in being as honest as possible.
Yeah, me personally, I think it's weird I understand people liking the royal family and like how they do things, I guess, but for some people who, I don't know, they like it way too much. Like, I don't know, it's kind of strange to me.
Yeah.
Like one family just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a strange concept. It'd
Definitely
be like
not modernized at all.
okay, picture it this. It'd be like if the Obama family if he was president, right? But then we turned into like
no, I know,
a fucking kingdom, and then like his family just for generations ruled.
Just ran everything.
I don't know.
Like I heard over there, I just heard this.
Kind of cool, but.
Well, yeah, because it will be the Obamas. Like there will be other people who.
That's what
like,
I'm saying, but that's like someone I like. Like that's how much these people like the royals.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
so to them it's like cool.
Nah, for that long, nah. Let's move on to something else. And then it just stays in the family too. Like what?
That's what Harry was saying. Like technically everybody's trapped. Like he's like I'm out, and like people think that's boohoo for me, but like low key they're trapped.
It did sound like, in that part, like, obviously, I just want to Get Out. I was like, this sounds like something straight out of Get Out. Just the white version.
They're trapped, unfortunately, so.
Just the white kind of progressive version.
Anyways, a perfect example of gaslighting, though. I like don't even know if we should. The other thing we wanted to, what was the other pop culture thing we wanted to talk about?
Atlanta.
Oh, my God.
The domestic terrorism that happened this past week in Atlanta.
I cannot even like. I have not processed that. I'll say that for sure. I have not like actually sat down and processed that yet.
Crazy white man.
The gaslighting that is going on.
8 people killed.
In this situation is crazy, and the reason
give some background for some, because some people.
Well, you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
I don't even know. I mean, if you don't know that this has happened, then there's something wrong with you. But, yeah, this past week, a 21-year-old white man went to like 2 or 3 different massage parlors, Asian specific, and basically shot everybody there. Mm-hmm. Ended up killing 8 people.
Women. Well, 6 women, sorry.
Yeah. I believe 7 of them were Asian. I think there was 1 white person killed. But just hearing that, you obviously could see that it was racially motivated. Mm-hmm. And when they asked him why he did it, he said he had a bad day. Mm-hmm. And the police chief actually went on TV and said this out loud.
Said it out loud.
He said, "Oh, he just had a bad day." I mean, I've had a bad day plenty of times. I know you've had plenty of bad days. I don't think either of us have went and killed anybody.
No!
Or even went and killed 8 people. Like, come on, bro.
That's some white supremacy shit. Only white people can have a bad day and murder everybody.
And then get, like, that's
Nobody
the
else
reason
can
why.
do that.
And then they're trying to say that it's not a hate crime. Like, how are you going to Asian-specific massage parlors, shooting majority of Asian people, and that not be a hate crime?
And like a lot of the things I've been seeing on social media that I want to just like address, because the narrative is so, for lack of a better term, fucked up right now. Like the narrative right now is like stand with Asian Americans. And I think I even saw somewhere out there about something on Instagram about like, it was like you know how people do like the slides of like how to whatever be a better ally. It was like how Black people can support Asian Americans right now. And it's like, why do we, it's not even about Black people. It's like the message should be like, everybody needs to be standing against white supremacy. It's not like, yes, this happened to Asian Americans, and that is an important part of this story to acknowledge that they were murdered. But the goal isn't like, yes, we need to comfort them, but we need to get to the root of the issue, which is white supremacy and racism in the country. So like, I feel like the language should be not just like how we can stand with Asian Americans. It should be like how we can fight white supremacy, because this doesn't happen without that. And it's kind of frustrating because
even the FBI said that white supremacy is like the greatest threat to the country right now. There's more attacks that have been made by white supremacists, more murders, more killings, more bombings than Islamist terrorists.
Okay, so
Like,
that's
an actual fact. The FBI has literally said this.
That's a fact, baby.
FACT. Fact. It's proven.
We don't always have the facts here.
I mean, that's a fact. Yeah, that one. Yeah, Google it. Do whatever you want to do. What was the other thing? There was another thing that you could do. Bing. You remember Bing?
Oh, yeah. Remember Ask Jeeves?
Yes. Zam. Those are gone.
Ask Jeeves?
Because it's not Google. Bing. Because it's not Google.
Ask Jeeves is now just called ask.com.
Uh-oh.
You can still ask your question there.
But how do you get there? Google.
All right, anyways.
You had ask.com in Google.
That was a sidebar. But no, honestly, it is atrocious. It is sickening. And it's unfortunate that we're still out here trying to convince people about the fact that racism exists in America. It's kind of wild. Like when you say the whole sentence together like that, it's like, this is what we're still doing.
Still, 2021. We're going to be doing this until, I know. It's just a...
But I want to point out the gaslight specifically in this situation. Like the gaslight in this situation is he was having a bad day. That statement. Not that... Like,
he was actually wrong.
Yeah, not that he was wrong. Not
terrorist,
that he
killer,
was. He was a racist. Like not that any of the facts. Like people are saying a white man killed a group of Asian Americans, and it was racist. And people are responding to that saying, "Nah, it wasn't racist. It was just a bad day." Like,
just like, but this happens all the time. So we can't even act surprised because every time there's a white person that does a mass shooting, what do they say it is? Mental illness.
Mental illness.
That's gaslighting. They don't want to call it domestic terrorism. These people literally, like, if you look at the definition of terrorism, it's literally committing a crime for political reasons. These people are doing these things for political reasons. It's terrorism.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
but they want to gaslight it and say, "Oh no, he's not that bad of a person. He just had a mental breakdown. He just had a mental lapse. He has a mental illness." We hear that every single time. Every single time.
Yeah. So picture it this way too. I feel like I want to even break it down. If you are in an argument with somebody, it could be your partner, it could be your child, it could be your fucking friend. I don't care who it is. Mm-hmm. Pretend you're in an argument with somebody. You know what happened. You know the facts. And you're explaining that to them. And they're telling you that you're crazy. You're wrong. You didn't see that correctly. That's not what happened. That feeling drives you fucking crazy. It drives me crazy because I'm like, I know I'm not wrong about this. Stop trying to tell me I'm fucking crazy.
No, I'm not crazy. Yeah.
People do it all the time. People do it inadvertently. People do it like, call customer service. This happened to me. No, ma'am, that didn't happen. Yes, the fuck it did happen. So that's gaslighting. Yeah. And now...
to the most simplest form.
And now take that anger that you would get just being gaslit on a regular day and put race behind it, put murder of people behind it, children, people's families, and like people are confused about why everybody's upset. Like it makes perfect sense to me. I'm just trying to maybe break it down for somebody who it still is not making sense. Like this is what is happening clearly, like very clearly. I don't know. It's just
happens every day.
I know. It's so fucked up. I mean, I guess the point is like, if anybody gets anything out of the episode is like being aware of what gaslighting is so that when you hear yourself doing it to somebody, maybe you won't do it.
Yeah. I've definitely done it in the past.
I think we all have. Yeah. None of us can't say that we haven't, but
you might actually think that this person is crazy for thinking what the thing that they're thinking, but you have to, I think, break it down and you have to take a step back and realize
take yourself out of your own shoes.
Yeah, and realize why they have those feelings. So you just got to peel the layers back and go deep instead of just keep trying to tell them that they're wrong and they're crazy, because at the end of the day, that's gaslighting. Like if you take a step back and look at it from the bottom layer and actually understand why they have those type of feelings, then you both could work around it and I guess get to some middle ground. But just telling somebody that they're wrong and they're crazy for the feelings that they genuinely have, it's gaslighting.
Yeah, so that happened to me. Like, I had a situation like that, and I can share, but the end of it is we were able to peel it back, and it was actually...
With family or with somebody random or...
No, it was with friends. It was with... Okay, so it was with... Like, I was out with coworkers.
This isn't the Florida one, right?
No, but I do have another good story for y'all.
This is an episode of all about stories and
no, there's just a lot going on.
Personal experiences.
No, in this situation, I was out with coworkers, and I'm pretty sure, like, I love my coworkers. I'm also, another piece of news, leaving my job for a new job, which is...
Level up, ayy.
A level up, which I'm excited about. So I'm sad.
In a panorama,
in a panty. So I'm sad, but my coworkers who are at this situation are my very good friends. I love them dearly, and they will remember this, and they listen to this. So anyways, I was at a happy hour with coworkers, and we were talking about another coworker who no longer works. She left like 2 years ago. And I was telling the story about how I didn't like how this coworker, she was implying, like, she basically was saying, like, we were having an event, and she was like, we need to put a sign up to tell people not to walk through this area during these times because there's going to be an event. And I'm like, okay, I got you. At the time, my job function was to help plan events. I was about to say,
I was like, yeah, that doesn't even sound like...
No,
yeah.
At the time I had a different job. But so she was saying that, and I was like, I got you. I told her I would get it done or whatever. So literally she said it again, and she was like, can you please make sure this gets done, because I don't want people like so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so walking through, talking loudly, making a lot of noise. And everybody she named was black. And it was just me and her in the room, in the conference room. So I was just like...
Not one single white person was named.
Well, I was just like, well...
Why are you telling... Yeah.
I was just like, these people are professionals. Like, we're at work. If they see a sign, they're not going to walk through. Yeah. But I was also new, so I was just like...
You was going to talk up, yeah.
No, but I did talk to like my supervisor about it after, because I was fucking shook. But so at this happy hour, we were talking about this thing that happened. I was sharing my... whatever. And one of my coworkers at the happy hour was black. So she was like getting it. She wasn't one of the people the girl named, but there's like not that many black people at her job. So as I'm telling the story, another one of my coworkers who's like a very close friend, she's going to be listening to this like, oh my God, I can't believe you told this story. And I love her dearly. But her initial response was like, I don't think that's what that girl meant by that. Like, she was basically trying to say, like, I was trying to say, that's a little suspect. I'm not saying she's racist.
It's the unconscious.
But yes, but like, I don't know if I'm going to be this girl's BFF. Like, that was my whole point.
But that's a red flag to you.
Yes, that's
for
a
other
red
people.
flag.
Other people wouldn't catch that.
Exactly. So that's all I was trying to say. Like, I'm not saying she's a bad person or she's a racist. I'm just saying, like,
I look at her a slightly different way.
Yeah, and we might not be getting drinks together like this group is doing right now.
I'll be cautious.
So, and my friend was responding and saying, like, I don't think that's what she meant. I think you're misconstruing, da-da-da-da. And, like, everything that I said to her as an example, she would respond and say, like, okay, but think about it this way. I think that she just grew up and da-da-da. And I was like, I literally was like...
she just grew up.
Yeah, I literally was like, oh my God, I can't, like, I didn't flip out at the thing, but internally I was just like, I just shut down, and I was like, I said to her, I was like, I don't think that we're ever gonna get to the bottom of this. Like, I don't think you're gonna understand my perspective in this setting right here. So we should like talk about this another day, because I'm getting worked.
You're making it worse. And now I'm looking at you a certain type of way as well. And
it's hard, especially with friends, because I know her. Like, I didn't know she wasn't trying to gaslight me. She was trying to, I don't know, I guess she was trying to, she was friends with her closer. They were closer than me and the girl were. So I think she knows her better and was trying to say, like, I know her deeply and I don't think she's that type of person, which is fine. But that doesn't like invalidate how what she said made me felt, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I know that she wasn't trying to be ill-intentioned, and like it didn't blow up. It wasn't like a big dramatic thing. It was just a moment that I remember as like feeling really gaslit, because I was like, and she just wasn't getting it. It wasn't like she wasn't trying to get it, or it wasn't the right setting to get it.
Here's a crazy question, and I might sound crazy for asking this, but as Black people, do you think that you actually can have a genuine friendship with white people from work?
White people from work?
Yeah, because you're talking about you're calling her your friend, and she's from work, right? Mm-hmm. But like genuine friend, like.
I mean, I think there's levels to friendship. There's like...
I think so too.
I mean, I think there's a level between... I wish there was a word for like...
It's like, look at the white friends you have in your life. You either grew up with them or you met them in college, right? Like the close friends. Mm-hmm. So you spent significant time with them. Mm-hmm. When you meet white people or other friends as you're older or through work...
It's definitely harder.
Yeah, you don't have that rapport. Like you don't know really like the depths of
background.
Them. Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. I think it's harder, but
it's still possible, obviously.
It's still possible. I think this is the only job like I've ever actually made friends at work. Like I've never been friends with my coworkers before. This is like a new situation for me. So for sure it's harder and it's new. And I think there is some level of like surface level things, but there are experiences that we have gone through as coworkers
that made you close.
That made us close, and conversations, and just like we did before the pandemic, we did spend time outside of work together. So there was like a little bit of a deeper level than just seeing you every day at work. And like I said, there were definitely moments and like emotional moments we went through together that I think bring people closer. And in this situation, like my friends at my job now, they've all been there for like over 5 or 6 years together. So they're like really close, and I kind of came in kind of last, but they were all cool. This includes Brian. Like they were all cool and welcoming. So yeah, we're all cool. But
like even 5 or 6 years of like being coworkers, like what are the depths of the friendship? Like y'all just going out for drinks? Maybe.
No, I think some friendships are deeper than others. But like, here's an example. Like I have white coworker friends, and I also have Black coworker friends. I'm definitely closer with the Black ones. Like I hang out with them more. I'm more comfortable. But that's like human nature. It's like you're more comfortable around people who are like you.
Yeah, who are like you, who have the same experiences. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my gaslight story. But I mean, it could have gone way worse. I think I don't know.
Well, I feel like that's also a microaggression. Not even gaslighting. Like her saying that these people are going to walk through and be loud. That's a microaggression.
Oh, the first girl.
Black.
Yeah. I'm not using names, so it's confusing. But yes, that was a microaggression for sure. And it was unconscious. Yeah. I don't think she was trying to make me feel
that's what microaggressions are. Yeah. Like people don't know. Mm-hmm. Like, so for other examples, clutching the purse around Black people, microaggression. Crossing the street when you see Black people walking towards you, or even if you're a woman and you see a man walk, that's still a microaggression. Or
like avoiding driving through certain neighborhoods because you think they're more dangerous.
Yeah,
I mean they could be
more dangerous, but
are
like what are the odds that something's gonna happen to you driving through that? That's a little extreme.
I mean, white people will be like, oh, don't go over there.
Yeah.
And never step one foot. Like, of course.
To me, that's more than a microaggression. Like people saying, "Oh, don't drive through that neighborhood." Like blah blah. It's not racist, but it's like it's prejudice.
It is prejudice.
It's prejudice.
I also want to point out, because I feel like we don't talk about this that much, but we do sometimes. But like, obviously, we're using white people as the example. That's who it happens to them. That's who it happens the most with in our experience. But like, Black people are the same.
Yeah, we're not attacking white people.
Black people are racist against Black people all the fucking time. All the time.
Yeah, it happens. Also, colorism. But that's another topic.
Write that down.
So also like touching somebody's hair, like white people or any other type of race touching somebody else's hair, microaggression.
That happened to me at work.
Okay, well, we're going to get into that story. you are like, if
now I'm like sharing all my fucking work stories.
like even people saying, "Oh, you talk white," it's a microaggression. That comes more from black people too. That comes from a lot of black people say that.
More black people say that to me than white people.
Yeah, through history
in my life.
The one to me that this is the microaggression that I hate the most. I don't even hate. I'm not gonna say I hate the most, but I feel like it's so subtle and so many people do this.
It grinds your gears.
Yes, when white people will say ghetto, when they say that was so ghetto, you're so ghetto. Like, what do you mean by that? They mean black.
What about when white people say bougie?
No, bougie. I say bougie. No, I don't think bougie means black. To me, ghetto means black. I equate ghetto to black. And I think white people equate that. And that's why I think that's a microaggression. Bougie?
White people don't say that shit to me.
You never heard a white person say ghetto?
No, I hear them say it, but like I've heard white people say ghetto. I'm just saying I don't know. Not all the time.
So a white person...
Maybe at Stonehill for sure.
So if you were around...
Maybe at Stonehill for sure, but
so
the
if you
white
were
people I'm
around
around now don't really use that type of language.
Well, yeah, because they're older, and
Yeah,
I mean, hopefully they know better, but like, if you ever heard that from a white person, you didn't feel a certain type of way? Like, oh my God,
I'm just like,
so
what
ghetto.
do you even know about that?
Yeah, like, what do you
That's
mean
how
by
I
that?
feel.
Like, what do you mean by that's ghetto? And I feel like, I feel like it's on the same as, I mean, technically it's probably similar to ratchet, but I don't mind white people saying ratchet.
Ratchet is amazing. Ratchet is not a word.
But ghetto to me, I hate when I hear that. And I hear it, for some reason, I hear it a lot.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I have to tell you this story.
Let's get into it.
You're going to be... Okay, just for the listeners to know, I almost started telling this story before we started recording, but I was like, I want to hear Jared's gut reaction on the pod because I was shooketh, okay? And I want to tell this story because I feel like I've been seeing a lot of... how do I explain it? Okay, I say I've been seeing a lot of this. This is how I thought about it. I watch Teen Mom still. Guilty pleasure.
Jesus.
Guilty pleasure. I watch Teen Mom. So one of the couples on Teen Mom who's from Michigan, right? They, during the show right now, it's like about the freaking elections and their immediate family, like the husband's mother is voting openly on camera, voting for Trump. And then they're the opposite. They like hate him and fully support whatever. And the wife wore a Black Lives Matter t-shirt to the in-laws' house. And the stepdad was like, do you really have to wear that shirt around here? Literally all on camera, right? And these two are like trying to get all the sympathy for like how hard it is to confront your family when their views are different from you. And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like,
the anti-racism?
It's not that hard to address your family. I mean, it is hard. I'm not saying it's not hard, but like, so this is why this story is so crazy. So I was in Florida last weekend and
enjoying the sun, just sitting there snowing up here,
getting some sun, handling some business,
warm weather,
and we go. So I had found out about my new job while I was down there.
Oh, that's a celebration.
And so we went out to dinner. We went to like go get food somewhere at this outdoor place. And so we had the concierge at the hotel get us a driver. We didn't do Uber.
What part of Florida?
It was like the Jacksonville area, so northern Florida, but it's in this area called Amelia Island. It's like...
Is that where y'all went for the honeymoon?
Yes, same place. So...
A lot of old people.
Yeah. Yeah. So the guy who picks us up, and it's like a company, it's like whatever, luxury, whatever. The guy who picks us up, he's old. He's 75. I only know he's 75 because he ended up telling me that. But when I saw him, I was like, oh God, he's old.
Y'all got into it then, huh?
Jared, you're not even gonna believe this. So he's old. He's late. He was late. But he's like funny. Like we get in the car and it's me, my mom, and my two aunts. So it's 4 black women. Them three sit in the back. I sit in the front with him. And so he's like, oh, where are you ladies going? He's just like your classic fucking old white dude. In my head. That's what I think. And so the place that we're going to is a mile down the road, literally. Like we only had to be in the car with him for 3 minutes. And he's like, oh, my name is Joe. He started telling all these Joe mama jokes. I'm like, oh my God, this guy thinks he's a clown.
He's forcing it.
So he's like, where are you ladies coming from? He's asking us all this stuff. And he's like, so then he starts going like, oh, did you know, have you gone to any of the, he said, have you gone to the African American History Museum down here? And we were like, there's a African American History Museum down here? And he's like, oh yeah, it's like a little small museum in like somebody's used to be their house, they turned into a museum. But he's like, there's a lot of great Black history on this island. So now I'm like confused because I'm like, this is not where I thought you were going. I thought you were gonna go the other way.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. I'm like, there is? Why? And he's like, well, blah 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 blah. He's so old. He's like, there's a beach here. It was the first Black beach in Florida, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. I think it was in Florida. The first Black beach in Florida was called like the Americana Beach. And this was during segregation. So he's going into this whole history lesson, and he was there, lived it. He's like, it was during segregation and only the Black people go to Americana Beach. And so they would party there and da da da. And he was like, and then when integration happened, he started talking about integration. And I was like, I asked, we're about to pull up to the restaurant. Mind you, it's 5 minutes away. So we're deep in his story, pulling up to the restaurant. And he's like, I'm like, how old are you when integration happened? And he was like, oh, I was just getting out of high school. I did all my high school with white people, no integration. So we pull up and he's like, oh, sorry, I'm going to have to finish the story on the way home. And I'm like, damn. So we eat, we call him to pick us up. He picks us up.
Starts off from the same spot.
Starts off in the same spot. So he's like, are you guys in a rush to get back? Because I would love to drive you by the museum and drive you by the Black beach, because I guess it's still down there, all Black owned homes, and it's like
on
doctors and yeah,
that's dope.
So I'm like, drive me through that bitch, like I want to see it. So he drives us through and he's telling the story, and he's like, I'm like, so you said you were 19, around 19 when integration happened. He's like, yes, it was the best thing that ever happened to this country, thank God for John F. Kennedy, da 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 da. And I'm shook because he's old, like he's like, oh, he's 75. Like I said, he did the whole thing segregated. So I said to him, I was like, so I guess I'm just confused because it sounds like I was like, have you always had this view about Black people and like segregation, like even when you were younger, or did you acquire this as you got older? Because I'm confused. Yeah. I'm in Florida, bro. With a 75-year-old white man who's telling me he loves John F. Kennedy. And he's like, oh no. He's like, listen, let me tell you. He's like, when I grew up, I played sports. Okay, sports are a great unifier. I said, I could not agree more. Yeah. And I
speak on it.
And he goes, I love basketball and I love football. And he's like, and you know, I'm not gonna lie, he goes, when I was in high school, you know, obviously, like I said, I only went there with white people. So he's like, we could only get so good. He's like, the competition was always so good. He's like, so after school, he's like, ever since I was a kid, since I was like in the 3rd grade, he was like, after school, I'd go to the park, and he was like, and it was the park, like, I guess it was the Black People's Park. And he was like, and I would go and I would pick up basketball, especially in high school, and pick up football with like all these Black kids. And they were my friends. He was like, I loved them. And he was like, we had so much fun. Every day I would play. And he was like, and every single day I came home from playing with them on the playground, I would get whipped by my parents for playing with Black kids.
That's wild.
And I was like, what?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's not surprising.
No. It's not surprising that they were whipping him. It's surprising that
he was still to be doing it.
Yes,
or the way that he turned out.
No, all of it. Like I said to him, I was like, wait, can you repeat that? And he was like, sure. Every day when I came home, from playing with my friends who were Black, I'd get whipped every day. He's like, every day they would just whip me, and every day I would just go back and play because I didn't care, because they were my friends and I was having fun. And he's like, so I said to him, I was like, do you have siblings? And he was like, oh yeah, I had 4 sisters and 4 brothers, but there's only 1 sister alive and 1 brother alive now. And I was like, are all your siblings have this point of view? He's like, oh no, they are all racist. And he was going on and on. And he was like, my brother now, who's alive, he's a Trumper. He's like, he is totally off his fucking rocker. And then he was like, my sister, she used to be a Trumper, but she has some young kids who are trying to teach her some things. So she's coming around. He's
showing
like,
her the way.
She has an open mind, but she has a long way to go. But I'm proud of her for opening up her mind, you know? And I was like, you know, I said to him, I was like, it's amazing that you turned out the way you did. And I was like, and I say all this to say, it goes to show I had a awakening realization in that moment. I'm like, this man who grew up literally in an environment where he was bred to be racist, understood as a child
it was wrong,
that it was wrong, because he made friends with people who didn't look like him and saw that they were human beings and was able to literally defy daily beatings. I mean, I think we've all experienced beating.
No, we haven't. We haven't all.
Okay,
everybody listening to this hasn't.
I'm just saying, like, experience daily beatings.
For you not to just be, for you to just be racist, to be like normal.
Bruh.
Which was back then, which was normal.
Bruh. And it just made me think, like, all these white people who complain about how hard it is
That they were raised that way.
that they were raised this way and they have to talk to their parents and their parents are so stubborn. Like, I'm not saying that stuff isn't hard and these people aren't stubborn, but like this man was literally being whipped daily for playing with black kids and still turned out to be a literal, just because he sees it from we're all human and not from color. And he made it sound so fucking simple. And now he's just this old man, 75 years old, who's a pleasure. We had clearly the best ride.
I definitely did not think this story was going this way.
We saw the beaches. We saw the black-owned things. The museum was closed, unfortunately. He told us all this history. He told a million more stories.
What were your mom and your aunts doing?
They were just like, wow, that's amazing. Like, they were surprised. And he was connecting it all to like the war and people coming back from the war. Like, he had mad fucking knowledge. And I learned so much from this old white dude who I thought was going to be racist. And obviously I judged him. So shame on me. But I was just like,
I mean, that's what we all do. Yeah.
It's what we all do. And it's just like,
judge a book by its cover.
It just made it so clear to me that like, if you really want to be a good person and treat other people nicely like humans, you can do that.
Yeah. There should be there's no excuses behind it.
There's no excuses. This man got beat every day and didn't care.
People make excuses when they know they're in the wrong. You know what I mean? So.
Isn't that crazy?
I did not expect that story to go that way.
I know. It's actually a good story.
Jeez.
Imagine. Of course, we can imagine. Our people went through slavery, but I'm just saying, like, it just blows my mind because it's just so opposite. Like, all we hear now these days is like, my mom, my uncle.
Like, my family
Everybody's fighting.
I was in the South.
Everybody was yelling. I couldn't do it. Like, I'm not trying to invalidate that and say it's like not a challenge because people are fucking stubborn, but
say you could put the effort in. You can put the effort in.
You could do more. I'm just saying, you just don't want to be uncomfortable.
So I'm assuming he had a mask on.
Yeah, he had his mask on.
I was like 75 driving cars. I'm like, COVID could take him out.
I was like, wow, he was obviously talking about all this great stuff. I mean, he was a cool ass dude. I was like, Joe, you're all right, man. Yeah. I was like, next time I'm here,
you're my driver.
You're my driver. Yeah. Lock in the number because I'm lit right now. It was crazy.
That's wild.
I know.
I definitely didn't expect that story to go that way.
It gave me a little bit of hope, though.
Yeah, 75.
Because I think those are the people, the older people that are like, we just got to wait for them.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of them aren't going to change their mind. Like, you're not going to convince your 80-year-old grandpa who fought in 75 wars that, whatever, like, fine. Give it up. He's 80. Yeah. But, like, it's about teaching the next one. Yeah. The next one.
But some of those people are still passing down that hateful rhetoric and things like that. So
it's true. Fight against it. I'm sure they're not beating you like they beat my man Joe.
Yeah. That's wild.
Wild. Anyways, I really enjoyed meeting Joe that day, and he made me, like, reflect about...
That's so dope.
The fact that there are good people out there.
That's so dope.
Yeah. So, good times.
How else was the rest of your trip?
It was good. Low key. Just had to go.
A lot of masks down there?
On the resort. Not really off the resort. I got my first vaccine.
How you feel? Oh, yeah.
My first dose, I mean.
And how were you feeling after that? Out for the count?
I thought I was not going to feel any side effects. I was like, I'm Gucci. I don't really get side effects like that.
The immune system strong?
I like to think so, knock on wood, but they kind of took me out. I'm not going to lie. I said this on my Instagram, and it definitely sounded dramatic, and it's going to sound dramatic again, but I thought my arm was going to fall off. I've never
I've heard that before. So
I never felt that type of pain in my arm especially from a vaccine. And it wasn't like at the site of the injection. It was like shooting down my whole arm. Like I couldn't even lay on that arm. I had to, every time I rolled over on it, I was in pain.
And was it like a throbbing pain or was it just like?
Sometimes, yeah, it got worse as the day went on to the point where I was like, I just need to go to sleep because this shit is. And I also got like a really bad headache, like right after I got home from getting it, like an hour later, I got like a really bad headache and I was like, oh God, like I'm breaking down. This is it. I started panicking and I just laid back on the couch to close my eyes so that I wouldn't see any lights. And I fell asleep for like an hour. I didn't even know it. So I think I was exhausted.
They say the second one's supposed to be worse. So
I know.
Damn.
screwed. I didn't getting it on a Friday. So if I'm out for 3 days.
Well, at least you'll be fully vaccinated.
I'll be fully vaccinated.
Against COVID-19.
Yeah.
Not the other strains.
Not all the other strains, but it's a start.
Better than nothing. Yeah.
It was, I mean, overall, I'm obviously satisfied.
We might be outside this summer.
Hopefully. I mean, that would be nice. Your last summer without a human.
Right? I need to go wild.
You need to do something.
Being in the house.
You need to go somewhere.
In the next 3-4 years.
Somewhere, because, yeah.
Yeah, we're thinking of a little baby moon.
You should do like...
Because we're not going to be able to travel for a minute.
Yeah.
And we had a trip that was canceled last year that we were supposed to go on my birthday, so...
Oh, yeah, you should just go back. What was it, Puerto Rico or something?
Puerto Rico, yeah.
I know some people in Puerto Rico right now.
We got to turn this back to microaggressions.
Okay. I mean, I feel like I've told a lot of stories. Do you have any that you feel like you want to share that
for microaggressions?
For any that might
gaslighting,
awaken somebody to say, I forgot that happened.
Well, I definitely think that I've definitely gaslit people before in the past, but hopefully in the future I can take a step back and understand what I'm doing. But
do you gaslight me? I wonder. I feel like you do.
No, I don't. Or maybe I do.
I mean, we have archives.
I say you're right about everything. That could be a gaslighting, making you think you're right when.
What?
That could be gaslighting. There's a reverse psychology of it, kind of.
Oh my God.
That's another topic. But no, microaggressions, plenty. Like people touching my hair. People ask me. Who
touches your hair?
Who do you think? In the past.
Oh, okay. I think I know.
People ask me why I have a brush. Like, why do you have a brush? Why do you have a brush? You don't even have hair on your head. What do you think this black thing is on top of my head? It's hair. I have a brush to brush it. But one thing that really stuck out to me, I was in Hartford, Connecticut.
Yeah.
This is when I was working in sports. So I think it was around lunchtime. So I was in a sporting arena. I was in like a venue, like where they play basketball, where they play hockey. Mm-hmm. Across the street, there was also another building with offices, like an office building. So in the stadium, there also was an office building. Across the street, they were across the street from each other. There's a bridge that connects the two. Mm-hmm. So we would just go over the bridge, go to the office building where they had a cafe. You can get lunch, restaurants, things like that. Go back over to the venue. You had to take an elevator. So I'm walking back from the other building. I hit the button to get into the elevator. I see this white lady walking behind me. So we're both sitting there waiting for and mind you, I'm at work. So I'm dressed like I'm working, like pants, button up. Mm-hmm. Like I don't look crazy. So I get in the elevator. I'm like kind of holding it for her, waiting for her to come in. She's just staring at me and then looks away. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, she's not going to get in the elevator with me? Okay, so I hit the button. And for some reason, that just stuck with me. That bothered me mm-hmm. that she didn't want to get into the elevator with me, because then I thought it was like something that I did. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything. Like, to me, I'm dressed perfectly fine. I'm dressed for work. Mm-hmm. Like, why would she not want to get into the elevator with me? So for like weeks, months, I mean, it's still in my mind, but like I've just forgot about it. Not forgot about it, but I've learned to like get over it. I'm like, I blamed myself for her not wanting to get onto the elevator, and then I realized, no, why am I blaming myself for that?
Yeah, exactly.
Like and then I also tried to shoot her some bail. I'm like, well, I'm a man. she's a lady. Like, she could be scared because I understand how some women don't like to be around men that they don't know.
Sure.
So I tried to shoot her some bail on that, but then I always come back like, no. Because if I was a white man, she definitely would have got on that elevator.
Yeah.
And that bothered me for so long.
No, yeah, that's what it yes. And you go through everything in your head.
Yeah, and I'm like,
and you feel crazy.
I'm like, am I dressed like a bum? Like, am I dressed like so? I'm like, no. I'm literally. It doesn't matter. At
the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You could have been dressed like a bum. That still wouldn't.
I could have been in a 3-piece suit. She probably still wouldn't have came in.
You could have been in a full tux on the way to your wedding. She still wouldn't go.
And that just, that bothered me so. And just even think about it now, like, I've gotten over that feeling. Like, I've like rationalized many ways on why she didn't get in there. Mm-hmm. But just thinking about it now and speaking on it, I'm like, I should have said something to her, but I'm like, no, that probably made it even worse. That would have made her feel right about her decision.
She would have really started running.
Yeah.
Should have been like, oh God, now he's talking to me. Security.
And even
he'd be like, I am security.
Like, come on, bro. Like, even yesterday, I went out my way to open this door for this older white lady. She looked like she had money too. I ain't gonna hold you. She was decked out. Her jacket looked like it was some money. Went out my way to hold the door. I was leaving Starbucks.
Oh, you were definitely.
I was in Starbucks.
You went bougie. You were not Dunkin' Donuts today.
I was in Starbucks. I literally went out my way to open the door for her. She walked right past me. Didn't say a word.
Oh, she was entitled to you opening that door.
I almost wanted to
chirp her.
I was about to say something, but then I was like, you know what? I thought to myself, I was like, there's a good amount of people in here, all white, obviously. I was like, if I said something,
you're alone.
I would be the one who would have the problem.
Black people there.
And I don't know. I kind of like every time that happens to me, I think that's kind of like a microaggression. Somebody not saying thank you for opening the door, or maybe. I mean, there's definitely people out there who would do that to anybody, who they're just maybe not raised right, and like you said, they're entitled.
Rude.
But also, I feel like there's also something else behind that.
I mean, yeah, you just think to yourself, would she have thanked me if I was white? That's what you think. And
she literally walked in. What made it even worse is she walked in and she took her glasses off. Like, the way she just did it, it was like, I don't know. It was bougie. It was bougie.
Well, you went to Starbucks.
Nah,
that's a gaslight.
That was a force.
That's a gaslight.
That is a gaslight, yeah.
I'd be like, well, you went to Starbucks.
Should have expected that.
Should have expected somebody to walk right by your ass.
I'm in a town where the black population is probably like -1.
At Starbucks.
Yeah.
Anyways. Wow.
This is a long episode.
I know. I know. It's good though. Anyways, I think, what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story
actually, let me tell you some ways how you can not do microaggressions.
Thank you, Jared.
So, think before you speak.
Wow. Repeat that one.
Think before you speak.
Think before you speak. It's a great concept.
Especially if you're talking to somebody who's not from your community and you don't even know if you should actually be saying this. Just think before you speak.
If you don't know if you should be saying it, just don't say it. If you're not sure, if you listen to this and you say, I'm going to think before I speak, and then a thought comes by and you're like,
maybe I shouldn't.
Should I say this? The answer is no.
I got another story for y'all.
The answer is no, you should not.
I have another, so we're going to prolong this, sorry. So I don't think this goes with microaggressions or gaslighting at all, but to that point, this was before we got married, Emily and me. We went to look for her rings, obviously, for her, after I already proposed. So when I went to get her engagement ring, there was a man who owned it. It was like family business. His wife was pregnant. So we were engaged for like a year and a half sometime. So then we went back to get her ring. And obviously she wasn't pregnant anymore. So as we're catching up, I think we have masks on. No, do we have masks on? No, we don't have masks on. But she remembers me, so we're catching up. She's like, oh, how have y'all been? Blah, 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 blah. How you liking the ring? Yada, yada, yada. I'm like, good. How are y'all been? And literally, in my mind, I said, do not ask this question. But you know me, I don't like small talk. And I don't do well in that small talk type of situation. So I'm just like, oh yes, we're doing well. How are y'all? Like last time I saw you, you were pregnant. Like how is everything? And in
They
my
lost
mind,
the baby.
they lost the baby. And in my mind, before I even asked that, something in my mind told me not to ask it. But I was like,
You were trying to assume that they had the baby.
I was trying to have continue that conversation.
Oh, that's sad.
And literally in my mind, I said, don't ask this question. But I asked it anyway. And then I just saw her get
shook.
Shook. I saw her get sad. Yeah. And I was like, obviously that made me felt like
you were so uncomfortable. You just wanted to rip your skin off.
Yeah. And me and Emily had a conversation about this as soon as we got in the car because I was like, I knew I should not have said that. I told myself, do not ask this question. But also to me, it seemed like a normal question. Like anybody would do that, right? But
they would.
I beat myself up about that for a little bit. But
Aww.
But as you were saying, think before you speak. If something crosses your mind that says don't do it,
you probably shouldn't do it.
Probably shouldn't do it.
Trust your gut.
Yeah. Also, you should think what you mean by implying something or by using this slur. So if you're implying something, you should think about what you actually mean by that. To a certain race or to a certain person outside of your community.
If you're implying something?
Yeah. Like your coworker implied that those people will be loud.
Oh.
Which ended up being a microaggression. Think of what you actually are implying. Think of what you mean by implying that. It's like if she actually took a step back and thought.
I think she knew what she was saying, but
she didn't think it was wrong.
Yeah.
Also,
that part.
Just because you have a friend or you date somebody in a certain marginalized group or community.
Here we go. You better preach.
That does not give you the right to use a slur or a microaggression or to think that you're just safe to do and say whatever you want. That should be common sense, but it's not.
It should be correct. It should be common sense, but it is.
Clearly it's not. Yeah. So those are just a few ways for you not to use microaggressions.
Those could also apply to gaslighting.
It could.
Just think for a second. Put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
For 1 second before you say something.
Yeah, think of the intent.
And this is how I try to...
And how people will actually take it.
Yes. And this is how I try to go about my life. I try to do this all the time if I can, and just always trying to look at things from the other person's perspective. Even at work when I'm upset with somebody or they pissed me off or clearly they did something wrong and I know I'm not crazy and you're not going to gaslight me by saying this was my fault. But I always try to think okay, where could this person have been coming from? Did they talk to their boss right before this and got a new asshole ripped and now they talk to me right after?
Yeah, they're projecting that on me. Yeah.
What are the circumstances behind what just happened? And then
that's also another topic, projecting. We probably could have gotten into that with this as well.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole nother thing on itself.
But we got to put a pin on that and colorism and all the other things.
So many.
We'll be back.
So many to get to in a lifetime.
This is a friendly reminder that merch is out. It's very exciting. We're actually getting them in the mail on the day of this recording. So be excited about that. Everything looks great. We're obsessed. We hope you guys like it. And you can get it at our website, donewithadulting.com.
Yes, merch in your pockets or in your hands soon. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Done WTH Adulting. Also on the gram, Done with Adulting Pod. Thank you as always for rocking with us.
Yeah, share with a friend, subscribe. Y'all know what to do, and send us pics of your merch. How about that? That'll be a fun game.
Oh merch. Yeah, definitely do that.
Hashtag DWA fam.
Yeah.
All right. We hope you guys love it, and we'll talk to you next week.